Our story starts in the early 2000s at a Gypsy travellers camp on the outskirts of Crewe. Billy Buck Sr. was an honest, hard-working man who wanted nothing but the best for his family. In his youth, Billy Sr. had been a prize-fighting boxing champion and was celebrated throughout the Gypsy community for his toughness and determination in the ring, and the fact that in over 100 fights he'd never been knocked out, not even once. He had come from a long line of Billy Bucks who had all been fighting champions, and he wanted nothing more than for his only son, Billy Buck Jr., to follow in his footsteps. In fact, young Billy had no choice in the matter. He was going to follow his father in the family business and be a boxer. As well as being a fighter, Billy Sr. had a thriving business as a tree surgeon, working all around the UK and Europe. For the last few years, every winter, when he wasn't working, Billy had based his family at the Gypsy community in Crewe, allowing his son Billy Jr. to attend the local school for a few months of each year. Now, young Billy Jr. was the apple of his father's eye. Billy Jr. loved his family and his community, but he had a passion, a secret passion that his father and his community would look down on and disapprove of. He was actually football crazy. He had no intention of becoming a fighter. He wanted to be a football player, and he loved Manchester United. His favourite player was Paul Scholes, and he modelled his playing style on him as best he could. He cherished the small amount of time he spent at school each year, as he got to play football every single day with his friends and practice his skills. In fact, when he could play for the school team, not only was he the first name on the team sheet, he was the team captain. Billy Jr. knew his father and friends would take the piss out of him if they found out he played football. He got enough abuse for all his United memorabilia in his bedroom, so he kept it a secret from everyone around him, and he told his father he spent the extra time after school in the boxing club. At school, things weren't always easy for Billy when it came to playing on the football team. While the majority of the other kids loved him, his midfield partner hated him. They were arch rivals for the top spot on the team. The other player was Nick Powell. He was himself a fantastic young footballer with a very bright future, where Billy Jr. was the defensive, tackling workhorse of the team with an eye for a killer pass. Nick Powell was full of attacking flair and creativity and somewhat of an inflated ego. For most of the year, Nick was the team captain and the number one player, but he felt aggrieved when Billy would show up for a few months of each school year, take the captaincy away from him and all the glory. Everyone from the coach to his teammates knew Billy was the better player with the most potential, and Nick couldn't handle it, even though he knew too that if anyone was going to make it was going to be Billy before him. One autumn, just as Billy Jr. arrived back in school for the next few months, the team entered a regional school tournament. Billy captained the side to glory and was the most influential player on the pitch in every game. He couldn't have felt proud of himself and his teammates. He also felt sad that his father hadn't been able to watch him. Now, although his father was missing from the sideline, somebody else who was very important wasn't. Keith Fox, a scout from Crewe, had attended the school club competition to see if he could find any local lads for the Crewe Academy. Now, he saw something good in Nick Powell, but in Billy Jr. he felt like he'd seen the best 16-year-old player since Wayne Rooney. He approached both boys and invited them for a trial. They just needed their parents' permission and signature. As Nick Powell's parents were there, they agreed instantly. Billy Jr. though had a problem. His father would never allow it. He had always said that football is a fool's dream and that any son of his would have to work hard in an honest job like him so he could guarantee an income and provide for his family. So Billy took the form home and forged his father's signature. He had to take this chance. It was his dream. Maybe, just maybe, if he could make it, his father would change his mind. Now, luckily, Billy Sr.'s tree cutting firm had a lot of work in the north of England that year, meaning that the Buck family would stay at the Crewe site for the next 12 months. Billy would get to stay in school for the entire year, and he would be able to play for the Crewe youth team if they signed him. Well, they did. Both him and Nick Powell were snapped up by the Crewe Alexandra Academy, and Billy was instantly made captain, again angering Nick Powell. Billy would go to practice and play a game once a week. In both cases, he just told Billy Sr. he was at a school boxing club, much to his father's delight. After 1 year at Crewe, the club wanted to sign both Billy and Nick to full-time contracts. Now, for Nick Powell, this wouldn't be an issue. Unfortunately for Billy, it would be. He couldn't forge a signature this time, as the club wanted a parent or guardian present for the contract signing. Billy Jr. knew he would have to come clean to his father. He just prayed his father would see what this meant for him, and he would allow his son to chase his dream. He headed back home with the form in his hand and hope in his heart. With a huge lump in his throat, young Billy sat down with his dad and confessed all. As expected, Billy Sr. was not happy. "No son of mine will be a gorger, Billy. There is not a chance I'm going to allow you to attempt to become a footballer. What if you don't make it? What if at 20 you get released and you haven't learnt a trade? Our trade? How will you earn money and provide for your family? It's not happening, Billy. You are forbidden to ever return to the club and that school." And with that, Billy Sr., angry his son had lied to him about his football and boxing practice, packed up the caravan and all their belongings, said goodbye to their friends and family, and with young young Billy left Crewe for good. He headed to another traveller site where his cousin was based in the south of England on the outskirts of Braintree. There would be no more football for Billy Jr. and the only education he would receive from this day forward would be in the family tree cutting business. Billy Jr. was heartbroken. His dream was over, powerless to do anything about it. He followed his father's wishes, sucked it up and settled into his new life. But every night when he went to bed, he would dream about what could have been. Fast forward to 2019 and Billy Sr. had now retired and had left the Billy Buck Tree Company in the hands of his son. He now spent the majority of his days relaxing on the caravan site, drinking tea and walking his dog. Billy Jr., with his football dreams well and truly behind him, now had a son of his own who was also named Billy. Over the last few years, Billy Jr. had expanded his father's business across the Atlantic, spending 6 months of every year in Canada felling trees. Business that not only made him an excellent living, but made his father very, very proud. Billy Jr. held no resentment towards his dad for killing his football dream. He loved his father very much and had come to the realisation that he was probably right to move them away and for him to concentrate on a real job, as he had a very nice, stable life. But his thoughts were soon going to go back towards what could have been when he received an invite for a get-together with some old friends. His old Crewe Alexandra U teammates were having a reunion night out in Crewe and they had invited him to join them for a few beers. Billy jumped at the chance to catch up with his old pals and was having a great night out until an old foe showed up. In walked Nick Powell with a big smug smile on his face. You see, over the past 10 years, Nick Powell had carved out a decent career for himself in football. After playing in the Crewe first team for a few seasons, he'd gone on to play for Billy's beloved Manchester United, Leicester City, Hull City, Wigan Athletic and now Stoke City, where he was earning a cool £20,000 a week. With a glass of champagne in his hand, he mocked his old rival, laughing at how he was supposed to be the one who made it and now he was just a tree cutter, driving a transit van and living in a caravan, while he drove a Ferrari and played in front of thousands of people week in, week out. Billy wanted to put his fist through his face, but he held his nerve, said goodbye to his old friends, left the bar and caught the train back to Braintree. God, he hated Nick Powell. Billy knew that if he would have had the same chance Nick did, not only could he have played for Manchester United, but he would still be playing for them to this day, unlike Nick. As Billy returned to the Travellers' site, the whole community was waiting for him with sadness in their faces. While Billy Jr. was away, his father, Billy Sr., had died peacefully in his chair with a cup of tea in his hand. Billy Jr. was devastated. His dad had crushed his dream, but he was his hero and always would be. The coroner's report showed that he had been suffering with cancer for some time, something Billy Sr. knew about but kept a secret from all his friends and family. A few weeks after Billy Sr.'s death, Billy Jr. saw an advert on a lamppost. The local team, Braintree Town, were to play their rival, Chelmsford City, in a charity match for the Marie Curie charity. He felt like he should go, buy a ticket and show some support. And as Billy arrived at the stadium, he bumped into an old coach from his Crewe days who now worked at Braintree. Terry Mead was not only happy to see Billy for a catch-up, he was happy because Braintree were a player down and he hoped Billy would step in. Billy jumped at the chance. He hadn't kicked a ball for years and he felt like a good game of footy would cheer him up after his father's death. He borrowed some boots and stepped onto the field. After all this time, would Billy still have it? Well, he was about to find out. The now 26-year-old Billy Buck had zero rust in his legs. It may have been a charity match, but it was between two rivals and the match was super competitive. And Billy Buck not only controlled the game, he dominated it, scoring the winner in the 85th minute. The fans and the Braintree manager were blown away by this absolute nobody and his ability. And 24 hours after the game, the club contacted Billy and offered him a 3-year contract. With Nick Powell's smug little face still imprinted in Billy's mind, he signed on the dotted line without a second thought. Even if Billy Sr. had been alive, nothing would have stopped him and his second chance at football. Over the next 2 seasons in the Vanarama South, Billy captained the Braintree team, playing 85 times and scoring 5 goals. And going into his final season with Braintree, he was starting to attract some attention from some clubs in the Football League. So can the 28-year-old Billy Buck, after a 10-year absence, make a career in football for himself? Can he ever replicate or better the career of his old rival Nick Powell? Well, we're going to find out in the story of the Gypsy King. Hello, I'm Bood and welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks for joining me. It's massively appreciated. Make sure you do all the good stuff. Hit the thumbs up, get involved in the comments, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell and you'll never miss anything I do. But most of all, thank you for your view and all your patrons. You guys, love you long time. If you want to be a patron, you'll find a link to that down below in the description. So welcome to the Gypsy King. I'm finally back from my holiday. I've had a great break. Felt like forever when it comes to YouTube, but honestly I've had a lovely time. Went to France, the entire family, all 8 of us. Amazing. I could have stayed, so much so we're going to go back to the exact same place next year. We were going to go to Turkey, but no, it's too much fun. Loads of stuff to do. Really enjoyed it. Quite sad to be back. But while I was away, I had a few ideas of little videos I wanted to make. I've got another little video that's going to come out hopefully tomorrow maybe. But I was contacted just before I left for France by a long-time subscriber who is a Gypsy traveller, who told me a little bit about himself and his story, and I thought, wow, that is absolutely amazing. I could put a bit of a Boo twist on that, elaborate it, make it a bit more dramatic, and this story genuinely is probably about 30-40% true, genuinely. Obviously I've just added to it, creative freedom. So I'm not going to reveal his name, but he's been a subscriber for a long time, just because it can't get out that it's about him. You know, there's certain things that would come back and bite him in the ass, and I don't want to piss him off. I don't want to get him into any trouble. Although he has said nowadays, because he's an older man now, yeah, he's in his 30s, that they do play a bit more football in the community. He said certain camps or traveller sites will play against other ones and so on, little mini leagues. But it was very different for him as a kid, and it was very different for him and his father as a kid. So we're here with the Gypsy King, and genuinely love it because we're jumping into someone's career late. So you think, oh, there's not going to be that much to look through. You know, sometimes you do this. You're starting off as an 18, 17-year-old wonder kid, and we're looking at 20 years of their career. Our star, Billy Buck, isn't going to get 20 years. But I was on holiday. I've been able to holiday a lot. And that little window of his career is absolutely brilliant. I love it. So here he is, Billy Buck. He's 28 years old now, and he's a very good player. He's not very fast, but he's a great tackler, great passer, great at long shots. He loves post goals, pretty similar to him. Determined, great leader, can concentrate, he's brave, he's aggressive, naturally fit, and naturally strong. He's been felling trees in Canada for many years. He's a tenacious defensive midfielder, and you might notice he's English. But I didn't mention it in the story, but just like the person that's inspired this, they are actually, I think, part Welsh. So I've put that in. As you can see, so he could play for England, he could play for Wales, he's from Crewe, he speaks English, not Welsh. Short-term plans, none. Long-term plans, has a preference to play in the Premier League. Will that ever happen? Maybe, maybe not. But he's looking forward to moving clubs, right? But before we get into that bit, I want to look at this. Now, you may have noticed in the story, I did show this screen, and it says he's played one season for Crewe back in 2009-2010. Now, it'll say there that he played in the EFL League 2, but in the editor, I've checked the youth team. So those appearances were not for the first team. That was that one season in the story where he played for the youth team, played 23 times, scored 3 goals. And then there's a 10-year pretty much gap, as we know from the story. And he's just had 2 years, like you know from the story as well, at Braintree, going into his last year. But for the basis of the story, he's got a future transfer in place to Stockport County. Now, as most of you will know, I'm a Manchester United fan who loves Stockport County as well. Never paid Stockport any interest until I started YouTube, did my first series with them. They were amazing. Most of you know the story. They let me come in the stadium, they give me loads of merch. They were brilliant. I've loved them ever since. Plus I work in Stockport. They've become my second team. I didn't pick them for that reason. Picked him because the arch evil nemesis in this story is Nick Powell. I know him from the Manchester United days where he was supposed to be a wonder kid. Now in real life, obviously this is an older game, so we're a year behind real life, aren't we? He has actually signed for Stockport County, so I wanted to make sure that still happens. So he has a future transfer in place, and they're both going to meet, and there might be more story to come with that. So what we're going to do actually is jump forward only a season, because I've got a little bit more story to share with you. The rivalry of two young men starting at school and ending at the Crewe Academy many years ago was far from over. With Billy's 3-year contract now finished, and at 29 years old he was finally about to sign his first ever professional football contract. Dave Challoner, the manager of Stockport County, had a wealth of experience at the non-league level, and he was always on the lookout for new cheap talent. He loved how Billy Buck played and convinced the club to sign him to a 3-year deal on £1,000 a week. The thing was, another player's contract had also come to an end. Nick Powell's time at Stoke City was over, and County had offered him a 3-year deal on £5,000 a week. Two worlds were set to collide again. Billy and Nick would be teammates once more, much to the disgust of Nick. But for Billy, he didn't care. He wasn't bothered that Nick would be earning £4,000 a week more than him. His only goal was to prove to the club, the manager and the fans that he was by far a better player than Nick Powell. Now this is where the true story of Billy Buck begins. Time may not be on his side, but nothing was going to stop our Gypsy King from fulfilling his dream. So here we are now, a year into the future, and he's made his move to Stockport County, where he's going to be teaming up with his old enemy from school, Nick Powell, who was laughing at him a couple of years ago at a reunion because he'd made it and he hadn't, although Billy was always the better player. But now he's 29 years old and he's starting, this is his first professional contract. So technically he's not going to have many years to squeeze everything in. Now you'll see he's still English, so he's not been called up yet, but he's playing at a low level. He hasn't proven himself in the Football League yet. Now, he had a fantastic last year, didn't play as many games. He had a great average rating, loads of assists, couple of goals, 39 appearances for Braintree, who were there and thereabouts while he was there. He definitely helped him be better. I picked Braintree. I think they were third worst team. I just liked the idea of the name. I liked the kit colour. And they were down south. But he's now back up north. Although Dave Challoner has been sacked, and this game sometimes does things that would never happen. They've only hired the guy who was a bit of a legend, Jim Gannon, who's been the manager twice, is it? He's definitely been twice the manager. I met him on holiday. I don't know what's happened with the kits there. That's gone a bit wonky, hasn't it? He's back. He's a legend, Jim Gannon's Blue White Army. And they've also got Nick Powell, the attacking midfielder. Well, they balance each other out, they hate each other, can use both feet. I'm pretty sure at one point he was a wonder kid in one of the older games. Look at him with his beard, he's looking a bit stressed and worried there, and he's thinking, bloody Billy Buck, stealing my limelight again, innit? Now the rivalry, we're not going to look too much into that. This is it. This story is about our Gypsy King. Well, here we are 2 years later. Now, because it was an holiday, I've been able to save it every year. I do that anyway, but look into it a bit more because I had a lot more relaxing time. Not doing much else apart from chilling out and swimming and climbing trees. I did this massive course through this forest, 8 zip lines that were higher than freaking skyscrapers. That was amazing. It was amazing. Anyway, I've been able to look into it a bit more in detail. And he's had 2 years at Stockport County, who are still in League 2. They've not done much. But he's about to make a move. The 31-year-old now, 2 years, 60 appearances, 5 goals for Stockport, still English. And he's a good player still, isn't he? He's got skill. And Nick Powell was not happy because you may have noticed that Billy Buck was made captain of Stockport County. He always gets made captain. Nick Powell wasn't happy. He's just made his move. He's gone off to FC Midtjylland. Fair enough, he's just made that, he's gone. So we had 2 years, 2 decent years with County as well, but he just can't play with Billy Buck anymore. So here we are, just a little bit further on in the save, and Billy Buck, who's still English, has moved to Swansea. He's gone up a couple of leagues and he's made his move. Got $6.5 grand a week contract till 2027, so it's only a 2-year deal, but he's still a great player, and he's gone to Wales. So we're now going to jump forward another 2 years. He's 33, and you'll notice, not only is he playing in Wales, he got called up for Wales, and he got his international debut, I think it was at 31, which is absolutely amazing. He's become Welsh. He's an international. Nick Powell's no international, is it? So he's had 2 years now playing in the Championship, which is a great level. I was hoping when he made this move to Swansea, he might get his stint in the Premier League or help him get into the Premier League. Again, he was made captain of Swansea. He just gets made captain, doesn't he? All the time. So his transfer as well was only 160 grand. Not big money for a player of his quality, but if you look at his average rating, he's definitely took a dip. I think he's a good player, but has he got too old? Is the Championship too much for him? He's still done great. He's still played a lot of games. He's a club captain. Still contributed. But this is what I loved about it. Now, when I made him in the editor, you know, you can do little things and little tweaks. I didn't want him to not be loyal, but I wanted him to go out into that world, to stay true to his travelling roots, and he definitely does that. So if we jump forward just a little bit more, you'll see Billy Buck has made a big move, same contract I think he's on at Swansea, to Holland, to Feyenoord. My friend Greeno will love that. I quite like that little touch for Greeno. So he's 33 years old, still obviously got 16 caps. We've only gone a few weeks forward. But he's gone to play in Holland. And his move was a bit bigger. Big transfer fee for him. 825 grand Feyenoord have paid for a 33-year-old. But I think, and I was hoping, he could do well. And wow, this is what you'd call the golden era. I think, maybe. It's up to you to decide of his career. And if you're wondering, his old buddy Nick retired. He's 33. I mean, he's played longer, don't get me wrong, he's been playing since his youth, but retired at 33 to become a scout. So that's Nick Powell out of it. And here we are now, it's 2029. Now he's extended his contract, right? But he's transfer listed at Feyenoord at this point. Surplus to requirements at 35. They've got 2 years out of him and they're done with him, right? But he had a good time here. Now what I want to do is, I know I'm hinting at things he might have achieved, and you can maybe see some on certain screens and all that, I know. But we'll have a look at that at the end. We'll have a look at his achievements at the end. But it's like a theme running through his career at the minute. I mean, Braintree was there a few years. He spent 2 years at Stockport. He spent 2 years at Swansea. And he's had 2 years at Feyenoord. Now his game time may have dropped. Maybe it's a smaller league. He had a great first season. Not played as much this year. He did have a couple of injuries. But he's about to make another move. Here's our Billy, 28th of July, 2029, and 35-year-old who now has 27 caps and 1 goal. The veteran midfielder has decided to join the current, at this time in this save, champions of Australia, even though they're based in New Zealand. Of course, you may or may not know, but Wellington Phoenix are a New Zealand team that play in the Australian League. I love this. I love a bit of Wellington Phoenix. I love black and yellow. $500,000 they paid. I thought that was quite a lot. But he's a good player. I mean, Feyenoord squeezed something out of him, and he did well. Like you'll see at the end. I mean, I think Feyenoord's probably his golden era, especially that first season. He was fantastic. But here he is in New Zealand / Australia. Now we're going to jump forward 1 year. He's now 36. Got 31 caps and 2 goals for Wales. So he's still just about playing for Wales. I did check in on the squad. He had this period, especially once he got into the international scene, where he played all the time, and then kind of started to tail off a bit, his appearances. He hasn't retired from international football, but obviously still in New Zealand with Wellington Phoenix, and the theme of two years at each club is coming to an end. 24 games, 1 goal, 4 assists, 3 man of the matches, decent average rating, just about hit 7. And of course he joined the champions. Could he keep him champions? We'll find out in a bit. But he's about to make a move that when I saw happen, I wasn't shocked by it. I was just shocked about the country. But it's probably a good level for him. Because our Billy Buck, 36 years old, makes a move to Osasuna, who had just been relegated the previous season from La Liga. So he's in the 2nd division of Spanish football. But he's a cracking player. I mean, that's probably... He's gone to Spain. Can he help him get up? Can he help him get promoted? How long's left in his career? I've seen these guys usually stick it out till they're 38. 60k. I think that, for a team like Osasuna, in the division they're in Spain, is an absolute bargain bit of business. And here we are, a year later. He's now 37. You can see he's got 2 caps in the last year, so he's still making the odd appearance. He's just not a regular in the international team for Wales. But one thing this allowed me to do, being on holiday. Normally I'm working, I've got the kids, I'm doing loads of stuff. But I could really just pace myself, and as I got to near the end of his career, I was starting to save it every month, just in case, right? And the reason it's the 9th of June is because tomorrow he retires. You can see that there, short-term plan, retire on the 10th. So I wanted to have one last look at him as a player before he retires. But he extended his deal. He changed his deal. And something pretty cool is going to happen. 36 appearances, 2 goals, average rating of 7. Now, of course, they'd only just been relegated. They had a decent side anyway. I think Billy helped. They won the league. Now, when we look at his career now and look at what he's achieved, this annoyed me because he retires and the season's technically not over because there's playoffs. It doesn't register his title win. Now, I know we're at this stage now, so the season's not over, but trust me, we might look at it later. When you jump forward in his career and you look back on it when he's a staff member, it never appears. He never gets that winners of the freaking league medal, annoyingly. Now, we're on notable here. I'm going to go on competitions. Now, you see at Wellington, regular season champions, and they go into the finals. They won it. So they went back to back. Billy came in, helped him achieve that, which is great. It's his Feyenoord days. I mean, look at his Feyenoord days. He didn't win anything until he got to Feyenoord. Then he won the Schal winners, which I think is like their Community Shield. The Becker winners is like the Cup. He won the Europa League and the League in his first year. Then he scored his first goal with Wales. Then they won the Beckers again, the champions again, the Dutch reserve competition. So he must have been playing for Jong. So he was getting dumped down that second season, but he still played enough to get a league medal. Because if we jump forward a few years, you'll see he became their under-19s manager, and he's a decent manager. He's currently studying his Continental A licence, so he's achieving, he's working towards that. And when this happened, and he's been their manager now, the under-19 manager for a couple of years, I thought, this is it. This is him building that foundation to become a manager. Now he does go on, and I've holidayed. I left it this side. I didn't have to jump in. I didn't really care about his staff career. I thought it'd just carry out, right? To 2060. Here he is, looking slightly older at 66 years old. Chelsea's under-21 manager. So he left Osasuna, although, right, over the years at Osasuna, he left them in 2036. He became the under-19 manager in 2031. So he was there for 5 years, right? Whenever their manager got sacked and they have a caretaker, sometimes he was an assistant. I've seen him use head of youth and so on. The both times they used Billy to step in. So he had 2 stints as caretaker manager at the top level. He just never became a full-out manager. He goes to become Chelsea's under-21s manager in 2039 and stayed there forever. Years and years. They've done well, they've done crap. They've been relegated, they've come back. He's won a few cups, a few league titles, and so on and so on. I mean, look at all that. Wow. But if we go down, look, he's Osasuna. He was captain and they won the league, but he retired on the 10th and there were still playoffs to play. He's not got his league title medal. Here is Billy Buck's biography, as you can see. In terms of personal accolades, Buck has a single Vanarama National, so he got it for Braintree Player of the Year award. I'm surprised he didn't win more, but it was them Feyenoord days. I was buzzing that he went to Holland. Great club, great league, but he did so well. In a good team, I think they'd finished runners-up, I think, and they'd lost the cup final the year before he signed for him. I mean, you can say it's all about Billy, but he definitely made a difference because they were amazing that first year, winning tons of trophies. Did well the next year, even though he didn't play as much. But what a career! Random different countries, never went back to the same place, never got to play in the Premier League, which was his dream. Who cares, man? I think Billy Buck could be very proud, and I think his father, Billy Buck Sr., and his son, Billy Buck Jr., will both be super proud of him as well. I am. I love it. I loved how that turned out. You never know because you're just simulating. And what's great is it's a short career. You can see it all in one place. So as always, thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that story. It was a pleasure to put together, especially because I was in France chilling out while I was doing it. But I love how it turned out. I love the fact that you're watching it. If this is the first story you've ever seen, I've made 3 already this year, and I've made over 40 now. There'll be a playlist link to everything down below. Some are good, some are bad, some are great, I think, but I've loved this one. Like I said, I won't say his real name, but he knows who he is. He'll be watching, and I really appreciate you sending me in your story and having a good chat. We've been talking on WhatsApp, and I hope this is good enough for you. I know I put my spin on it, but thank you for inspiring me, man. Honestly, you know who you are. But thank you all guys for watching. Do all the good stuff, thumbs up, comment, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell, become a patron if you really want to help me out. Like I said, I've got a cheeky video coming out, hopefully tomorrow. I've done them before. We'll see how that one turns out. And I've got a couple more stories in the pipeline to come out over the next few weeks. So as always, thank you. It's great to be back. Great to see you again. Hopefully you've missed my face, because it's going to be coming back bit by bit. Although if I could, I'd still be in France, chilling out, doing absolutely nothing. Anyway, thank you. I'm going to go. Stay safe, stay happy. I'll love you long time. Bye-bye.